That's a direct order. Do it now.
Hi guys, before we get into the details of this frame, I just want to show you quickly. There's a 1300 mAh battery. And look at that! We have a place to put our balance lead and plug your XT60 in. Hallelujah indeed! Right, so this is the Thug Sub-Zero. If you've been around this channel for a bit, you know that I reviewed the Thug Superfleet and I didn't particularly like it for a number of reasons. I'll link the video up here somewhere. Now this caught my eye the other day, and it's got on face value everything that I like about a Freestyle frame. So we've got a long body, we've got a squished X in true Freestyle fashion, and as a sure sign that this is really good, I don't know if you can see, it's got my name engraved upon it, which immediately makes it awesome. This is a special offer at the moment that when you buy the frame for a limited time, you can get your name engraved on it. So I thought it'd be pretty cool to have my channel name on top of the quad. I've got to say, I absolutely love it. Really tempted to actually paint that, but we shall have to wait and see. So this is a 225mm, as I said, squashed X Freestyle frame. And Thug make this frame in a 6-inch version as well, and I've also noticed that they sell 7 and 8-inch arms. So this is a quad with a lot of options and a lot of potential, especially if you want sort of long range and that type of stuff. And that's not really something I've explored yet, but at some time I'll probably look at doing a 6 or possibly 7-inch build. But basically Thug are kind of known for making super strong frames. Their carbon has a reputation of being really good, and if you saw my kind of super light 160 gram race frame, that was using the arms and base plates of the Thug frame, and I touched upon that then. I think the reason why their frames are so strong is they have a tiny little bit of flex in the carbon. They're still really rigid, but the carbon's not going to sort of split or splinter very easily. Now, one of the things that caught my eye on this is the stated weight is for the carbon and fixings is 89 grams, but that doesn't include the screws. Now, there aren't many screws on this particular frame. We've got 3 on the top holding this in. Well, and we've got 4 on the bottom, which I'll come into in a minute, and obviously another one there. Now, when I put my one together, I've used titanium screws, and my build comes in at 95 grams. If you use steel screws, it comes in at 97 grams. So whichever way you look at it, this is a really light Freestyle frame. Most Freestyle frames are 120 gram to 135 gram when they're fully built, and this one is clearly a lot lighter than that. Now, if I sort of just go over what we've got here, we've got 4mm arms, and unlike most frames which have removable arms, these arms are basically one piece. So you've got one V here, and you've got another V here, and these are 4mm carbon. And the carbon is cut really nicely. It's all smooth and nicely finished. Now, the one thing I want to talk about is the way this frame comes. They recommend you use 2 screws at the back, which lock in with a steel nylocking nut, and the front 2 obviously run straight up into the aluminium standoffs. Now, the way they recommend it is they provide 4 M3 nylon screws, and they recommend using these M3 nylon screws and pushing them up. Now, I really like the design of the arms. I really like the fact that they join in a V, and the reason why I like that is if you watched my video on the RGX frame and the way it broke its plate here, you can't get that on this, because if you hit at any point, obviously the force is sent all the way along the arm, so you're not getting one particular point which breaks. The load is being spread out over a much larger area, and that will make the arms a lot stronger than even a frame which has 4 separate arms which join in the middle. So it's a really good thing. I'm not convinced that mounting these arms and just using these nylon screws in the middle is such a good idea, and the reason for that is if you have a really sort of heavy front or back end crash, obviously the load is going to be lifting this arm away from the plate, and although it will still be really strong, I'm not so sure that I wouldn't be better just using 4 titanium or steel screws and just mounting the flight controller on top of that, as per many Freestyle frames. But again, it's a personal thing, but I think I'll probably just add an extra couple of grams of weight and basically just have a bit more peace of mind that these arms aren't going anywhere. The rest of the frame is basically 2mm carbon, so we've got a 2mm top plate, we've got a 2mm bottom plate, and we've got 2mm side plates and a 2mm back plate which clips in, and it has 2 holes for basically your SMA connector, depending on which side you want to run it via the rear standoff. And I've got to say, I really like the frame. When you first put it together, it feels loose. There is a little bit of play around the way it clips in, but when you actually screw it all together, it's really sturdy. The only kind of weakish point about it is this front part, because it's not actually kind of attached to this top plate itself, but as soon as you put a camera in it, obviously it's absolutely fine then. Now this frame is made for either, well, ideally for a Runcam or a Foxeer Mini. And if you're looking at the technology coming out, you've got the Foxeer Predator Mini coming out, you've got the Foxeer Arrow Mini coming out, which looks like it's going to be incredibly cheap. I think Banggood have got it up for about 19 quid on, well, it's not in yet, so we'll have to wait and see. But that's certainly the way that these cameras are going. And obviously the perk of running a micro cam like this or a mini cam is obviously shedding off additional weight, and weight is always a good thing to lose on a Freestyle frame, or any frame for that matter, because the lighter you go, obviously the less energy it takes to move in any particular direction. On a Freestyle frame, most pilots do prefer some weight, but of course we're still going to have plenty of that for our needs. As I showed at the start of the video, the one sort of touch I really like is that it has these 2 extending side plates here, and beneath, or you can put them on top if you prefer, you have these 3D printed mounts which feel like they're made out of some really strong material, possibly nylon. And as I showed at the start of this, they're basically there to make sure you don't end up chopping off your battery leads. One is for your balance lead, and the other one you would basically use on your flight controller where your power leads come out. You would basically run them up and mount the XT60 connector in here, and then you would take your battery and simply plug it in. And I think it's a really nice simple solution, and one that I'll definitely be using. If you don't want to use it, then you could simply just file off these small pieces here and just get rid of it entirely. This does add another I think 3 or 4 grams to the weight of the quad. So the quad itself was 95 grams. If you add these bits on, I think it came to 99 grams, but we're still incredibly light for a Freestyle frame. In terms of these bits themselves, while this carbon does look narrow and weak, if you think that you're going to have a battery up here, you're going to have a GoPro at the front up here, there's not really any way that you're going to hit them unless you're really unlucky and a branch or something comes between your props and clunks them one. My one came with a spare XT60, but it's not listed in the actual description, so I don't know whether that was just dropped in as an extra or whatever. The arms themselves, as you can see, have got tons of motor protection, which is always nice to see. So if I grab a motor and put it on, you'll see you've got tons of front protection side protection, so your motor is going to be pretty well protected. This frame is basically a 20mm height, so you've got 20mm standoffs, and obviously this plate is 20mm. It just clips between the top and the bottom plate, so it is a low rider frame. But in terms of prop clearance, which is something everybody always seems to worry about, but I've never sort of chewed a battery up with my props, even on the lowest builds that I've done. If you look at it, you've got tons of prop clearance at the front, and you've also got, if I just line this up, tons of prop clearance at the back. So you're not really going to hit your battery in any way, unless of course you put a big square battery on it. The frame itself is really short, which is obviously the bit that makes it relatively lightweight. So if you take, this is a 1300 mAh battery, and plonk it on, and then you put your action cam on the front, like so, you've basically got sort of room for a 1300 mAh battery or a relatively short 1500 mAh battery. So you just need to be careful about the length of battery that you buy. Certainly those Turnigy Graphene 1500s, etc., are going to be much too long for this frame, as the top plate is a similar length to the hyperlow frame that I have, which is a lot heavier than this. So all in all, I've got to say, I really like this frame. I like the fact that it comes ready-made for mini cameras. If you want to run a micro camera like I've got in here, I've just used a little M3 nylon nuts, but when I actually build it properly, I'll just use a couple of little spacers in here so the camera sits straight. I ordered this one day, it arrived the following day, so pretty quick. They make these, Thug are a small manufacturer, so they kind of make these in batches of 3 or 4, so you might have to wait 2 or 3 days for them to make it. And obviously if you want to add your name onto it, then that might add an additional little bit of delay. But yeah, I really like this. This is a frame that I'm going to build up. I'll probably use F60s on it, which is my favourite motor at the moment. And the reason this is my favourite motor is these used to be 22 quid motors, and now that the F60 Pro V2 has come out with the open bottom, the prices have tumbled on these. But from everything I've read, the new version only really has one advantage, and that advantage is obviously it's a bit lighter, which of course is a great thing. But on Freestyle frames, I don't particularly like the open bottom design, which of course, as everybody's chasing weight, seems to be becoming more and more common. And the reason why I don't like it is on a lot of motors, the actual windings, which in this case are beautiful silver, the actual windings sit below the actual bell of the motor, and if you get a twig or a branch or anything that hits those windings, it's very easy to damage them, and you've lost a motor. So I bought quite a few of these while they're going cheap. I don't know if they'll carry on making them following the release of the new one, but as I said, I won't be buying the new one. I'm going to try and stick to closed bottom motors wherever I can on Freestyle frames, and just use the open lighter motors on race quads. So yeah, so hope that was useful. I'll put the link to this frame below. I'm kind of relieved that I like it, because I didn't want to do another bad review or a bad overview of another Thug frame, because Thug is a really small British company, and we don't have too many frame designers in this country, so it's always nice to give a shout out to a fellow Brit, and especially when they do sort of interesting things like this, which is the first time I've kind of seen this, and I think it works really nicely. And as I said, I do really like this this V shape. I think it solves a lot of issues, albeit the question mark here, but I can easily just drop in 4 M3 bolts there, so that's no problem at all. And it also has a little tiny engraved Thug. I don't know if you can see that just there. So yeah, so lots of nice little details, but the main thing is it's a lot lighter than any other long body Freestyle frame. So this one I think costs 44 quid or 45 quid it cost, which to my mind is a fair enough price. What you know, I don't really want to pay hugely more than that. It's just carbon at the end of the day. So anyway, check it out. If you like it, obviously give us a thumbs up, and any questions, post them below. Cheers guys, thanks, bye.